What's up, everybody? Welcome to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesar Sportsbook. I'm Katie Mox. Today, we're talking NFL picks, props, and bets for the full slate on Sunday for the NFL. And we've got a special guest today, Iain MacMillan. Iain, thank you so much for joining us today. How are we doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Katie. How are you?
I'm doing really, really well. How are bacon bets?
Bacon bets is going well. I make the dumb decision every single year of betting on all 272 NFL regular season games. So it's a grind, but I'm enjoying it. It's fun.
It's been I feel like it's been kind of a wild year. Look, by the way, I say this every single year, but the last 2 weeks have been pretty crazy. I think it was week 7. I got my butt kicked. Like I don't think I won like maybe 2 bets. And then last week was a little bit better. Have you noticed any kind of up and down, particularly this year?
Yeah, the past couple of weeks have been tough, especially last week. Just a couple all-time heartbreak backdoor covers that I lost. Like the Cardinals covering the spread against the Ravens last week was unbelievable. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. But I mean, you assume that over the long term that those kind of bad breaks even out, and sometimes you get some good luck. So I think I'm due for some good luck this week, hopefully.
I think so too. Speaking of those Cardinals, what do you think of Josh Dobbs going over to the Vikings?
Yeah, it's interesting. He's obviously no Kirk Cousins, but he does have experience starting in the NFL. So I don't think he's starting this week. I think Jaren Hall still is going to start this week. But it's interesting. I mean, the Vikings are right there. It's crazy because they got off to such a bad start to the season. But if the season ended today, they're in the playoffs. So they fought all their way back. Lost Kirk Cousins. Is Josh Dobbs going to be enough to kind of get them over the finish line? I don't think so. But we'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting.
It'll be really interesting. I felt like he balled out the first couple of weeks. Obviously, when they had a good run game, he did a lot better. His production started to drop off in the last couple of weeks, but they do have weapons. Jordan Addison has been balling out. Cam Akers starting to get a little bit of action there. So that will be very interesting to see. But probably the bigger news in the NFL is the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. Absolutely cleaned house. They fired their GM, their head coach, their offensive coordinator, and my guy Jimmy, where is he? My guy Jimmy Garoppolo, no longer the starter. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually been a Jimmy Garoppolo defender for the past few years.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Let's go.
I was, but now I think I think I've seen enough. I think I have to stop defending Jimmy Garoppolo. This past week on Monday night against the Lions was tough. He missed a couple big throws. The team as a whole was clearly not a well-coached team, so I don't know how much that falls on Jimmy Garoppolo, but at the same time, he missed a wide-open Devontae Adams a few times as well. So, I mean, I think we all kind of knew Josh McDaniels was going to be the first head coach fired. I didn't think it was going to come quite this early in the season, but the firing wasn't a huge surprise, but Raiders fans deserve better than this. So hopefully they do get better. Maybe not this season, but in the seasons to come. But
I can't remember what the year, but it's like 11 coaches in the past like 20 years or something. Like just ridiculous, like the amount of the fact that they're paying 2 head coaches right now that aren't even coaching for them anymore. Right.
It's not good.
It's unbelievable. And look, like, and you got these guys out there saying, what is his name? Aiden O'Connell. O'Connell's the best quarterback that we have. I mean, yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo missed a few. And look, I am a longstanding Jimmy Garoppolo apologist as well. And I've started betting on his interceptions and making a lot of money from him this year. And I know Brock Purdy has been not so great the last couple. Actually, he has been actually pretty good the last couple of weeks. He's just been throwing some interceptions and having some letdowns in the fourth quarter. But when I watch him play and I watch Jimmy play, I'm like, thank God Jimmy Garoppolo is not on our team anymore. As much as I love this guy. However, that one, like, what was it going to be like a 98-yard, there was Tay Adams was open. 2 quarterbacks in the league can throw a 98-yard touchdown. You know what I mean? So that wasn't happening either way. The 60-yard one was bad, but I don't know that O'Connell is actually better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I feel like they're scapegoating him a little bit, and just wanting to clean house. But we'll see how it goes. If I was a Raiders fan, I would just be down bad in general.
Yeah, I mean, Aiden O'Connell had a really good preseason, so I think that's why there's a little bit of hype behind him. But is that going to translate over to the regular season? I mean, it rarely does, so we'll see. But it's a tough time to be a Raiders fan right now.
So I know you're not a big fan of Tom Brady, considering you're a Falcons fan, and he really did hurt you 1 year quite badly. Do you think he was a part of this decision as a minority owner to bench Jimmy Garoppolo?
I don't know if he was a part of this decision, but I think what might have played into this decision was Mark Davis just saying, okay, let's completely clean house and then have Tom Brady be a part of the decisions in the future and kind of
Yeah.
help build this
Yeah.
franchise back from the ground up. So I don't know if Tom Brady got on the phone and was like, hey, we got to get rid of everyone. But I think the decision was kind of made in mind, like, all right, we got Tom Brady in the mix now.
Yeah.
Let's clean house, start from scratch, and then let him kind of lead the way as we hopefully build this team into a competitive franchise in the years to come.
That's a really good point. We saw Tom Brady basically do that in Tampa Bay, bringing certain players in that he liked. Like he can wear that GM hat quite well. All right, let's move on to Week 9. First, we're going to start. Look, there's how many games on the slate? Like a million games on the slate. So we can't get to absolutely everything. So let's start with money line and let's start with spread. What is one side that you like?
Yeah, I'm going to start off with an ugly one this week. It is the Arizona Cardinals getting 8 points against the Cleveland Browns. This is more of a bet against the Browns with the current spread. I just can't lay more than a touchdown worth of points on this Browns team based on how bad their offense has been. I don't care who's starting a quarterback. I don't care if it's PJ Walker or Deshaun Watson. At the end of the day, this team's 29th in the NFL in yards per play. They're getting 4.6 yards per snap. Now, will they win this game? Sure, but are they going to cover an 8-point spread? Like, you need to have at least a competent offense for me to want to lay that many points on a team. And the Browns do not have a competent offense at this point of the season. I know Clayton Tune is getting the start at quarterback for the Cardinals. So, I mean, who knows how that's going to turn out. But at the end of the day, the Cardinals do have a run game that they can lean on in this game. Second in the NFL in yards per carry, getting 5.1 yards per rush. So if they can just run the ball a little bit, get, a few field goals and a touchdown, I think the Browns offense is not good enough to be able to cover this big of a spread. And also, I mean, the Browns actually haven't done a good job of stopping the run lately either. 15th in opponent yards per carry. They're a lot better at stopping the pass. So I think the Cardinals offensive strength kind of goes up against the Browns defensive weakness well here. So I'll take the 8 points of the Cardinals.
I like that. I'm on the under in that game, which I'll get into a little bit later. But I blanked out for a second. Kyler Murray not playing this week. I know he was an active full participant, but it's probably another week or two until we see him. So yeah, Cardinals offense, I'm not sure how much is going there. But to your point, with Deshaun Watson and his rotator cuff, I mean, when he did go out there a few weeks ago, he looked horrible. So it's hard to say that he's going to be 100% and that offense is going to be moving. I mean, I'm gonna not reinvent the wheel here. I'm taking the Chiefs in a bounce back spot, minus the 1.5 versus Dolphins in, where are they? In Frankfurt, Germany, I think, this week. Yeah, 9:30 a.m. Eastern on Sunday. And look, for the first time in his career, Ian, quarterback Patrick Mahomes, MVP last year of the season of the Super Bowl, lost his first road game to an AFC West opponent. And guess who it was? The Broncos. I mean, it couldn't be more embarrassing than that. He had flu-like symptoms, wasn't exactly a Michael Jordan flu game, kind of went in the other direction, ended up hurting his hand a little bit. But I'm still going to take him in a bounce back here. He's 14-3 straight up after a loss. And when you look at this Miami team, they're really good against teams who aren't very good, but when they're up against a very good opponent, thing goes a little bit sideways. They actually haven't beaten a team with a winning record at the time since week 3 of last season. And they've really struggled to play against top defenses, which is so crazy to say that Kansas City is a top defense. It used to just be offense. And now their defense has carried them through a lot of these games. Also, when I was looking at international favorites, in games where the favorite is not the Jags, because, they like to play overseas quite a bit, the favorites are hitting at 71% against the spread. So give me Patrick Mahomes here. I mean, I have a couple other bets on this one, but I really do think that the Chiefs are going to bounce back here in a big way. And, who knows, maybe Taylor Swift will make the trip across the pond, if you will, and Travis Kelce will play better.
Yeah, I like that play. I lean a little bit more towards the under just because I think the Chiefs defense, as you mentioned, actually their defense has been better than their offense this year. So I think we might see a little bit of a low scoring game. But the Dolphins have struggled against top level competition. So I like the Chiefs.
All right. One more spread or money line that you like for week 9?
I like the Colts to cover 2.5 points against the Carolina Panthers. I was actually on the Panthers last week when they beat the Texans, but this is a much different stylistic matchup because the Texans can't run the football. One of the worst running teams in the NFL, and that is the biggest weakness of the Panthers is the inability to stop the run. So as long as they play teams that aren't able to run the football very successfully, like the Texans, the Panthers are going to be able to stay in these games. Not the case, though, for the Colts. The Colts can run the football quite well. Obviously, with Jonathan Taylor getting back in the mix now.
Yeah.
Panthers defense, 32nd in opponent EPA per rush, 31st in opponent rush success rate, 28th in opponent yards per carry. So either dead last or close to last, and basically every single run defense metric that you want to look at. So I think the Colts are going to be able to run the ball all over them. Overall, I think the Colts are a much better team. Net yards per play, which is simply the yards gained per play on offense, subtract the yards given up per play on defense. Colts rank 13th in the NFL. I actually think they're a little bit better than the record indicates. Panthers all the way down at 30th. So it's underneath that, that magic number of 3. I like the Colts to win and cover that short spread.
You're not worried about the Frank Reich revenge game?
No, I'm not.
I mean, this guy got fired for Jeff Saturday. Okay. You don't think he wants to come out there? I mean, I'm on the over in this game. And again, get to it a little bit later, but you got to think that this offense, I mean, we saw it happen with the with the Jets facing the Broncos. And they were like, we're going to do it for, why am I blanking on his name? Coach
Nathaniel Hackett.
Coordinator now. What?
Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah, let's do it for Hack. Let's do it for Hack. And then they came out and they actually won that game. I don't know. Not that the Panthers offense is anything to write home about, but it should be an interesting one. I kind of go either way on that one. I could see, well, there's a reason why it's under a field goal, but I'll ride with you on that one. Colts minus 2.5. This one, Ian, it's purely vibes for the most part. I'm taking Bills money line. And I know the Bills have been a roller coaster, right? They've been hit or miss all season long. And the Bengals look like one of the best teams in the NFL right now. I mean, they completely dismantled my 49ers. Were great on both sides of the ball. Joe Burrow appears to be all the way back. He was rushing. He was throwing deep balls. I mean, in every phase of the game, they looked absolutely amazing. But I also think in every phase of the game, the 49ers struggled where they don't normally struggle. And look, Buffalo tends to play down to lesser teams, right? We saw them lose to the Jets. We saw them lose to the Patriots this year, but they come out swinging against the big guys like the Dolphins when they absolutely pummeled them. It is the first regular season game since Damar Hamlin, of course, collapsed on the field. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of pomp and circumstance. There's going to be a lot of media attention on this. I'm sure they're going to show Damar and the ambulance and everything happening, and it's going to be an emotional win for the Bills. Plus, they have a little bit of a rest advantage here coming off of Thursday Night Football in week 8. So it's weird because I think the Bengals are the better team right now, but I do think the Bills get a win here.
Yeah, I like to play in the total that I'll talk about here in a little bit. But if I were to go on a side, I would go the Bills. I think the Bills are in a little bit of a buy low spot because I think they're better than their record shows. And a lot of people are calling them frauds. I don't think the Bills are frauds. I think a lot of their metrics are very good. And I think they're going to surprise some people on Sunday night. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so much hate for Josh Allen. And well, first of all, do you think that there's been more quarterback interceptions? I don't know if it's just because I bet on them every single week, but I feel like quarterbacks are throwing interceptions at an alarming rate this year. You got Jimmy Garoppolo that had like 1 million. You got Brock Purdy that's thrown 4 or 5 in his last couple games. You've got Josh Allen who's throwing picks left and right. Do you feel like there's more interceptions being thrown, or are we just betting on it?
I do know. I've noticed the same thing when I was looking at that this week, especially last year, because it seemed like last year interceptions were down as a whole. But this year, and especially by some good quarterbacks, I think Mahomes has thrown, 8 interceptions already this year as well. So, yeah, especially amongst the good quarterbacks, they seem to interceptions seem to be up for some reason.
It is. Well, there's turnover every single year, but a lot of offensive coordinators kind of turned over and took head coaching jobs. That always affects the offense. So the Chiefs, obviously some turnovers in terms of their receivers there, but yeah, very, very interesting. All right. We are going to take a quick break. We come back. We are talking totals and props. We're also going to get into TNF a little bit. You're watching Moxie Bets. We'll be right back. Why should you bet with Caesars Sportsbook? 2 words, Caesars Rewards. Every bet brings you closer to the type of benefits only Caesars can offer. Hotel stays, VIP experiences, sports and concert tickets, and more. It's not just an app, it's an empire. Welcome back to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesars Sportsbook, here with Iain MacMillan previewing Week 9 of the Sunday slate in the NFL. We already gave you our top sides and money lines. Now we're going to go for totals, and you are looking at Seahawks Ravens.
Yeah, sneakily, actually, very loaded slate on Sunday. Probably the best slate of Sunday games all season. But this one might be the one I'm actually looking forward to the most, because this is going to really determine, both in the AFC and the NFC, who is going to be, the top of that second tier of teams that can really make a run at it. So yeah, I do like a total in this game. It's set at 44. I like the under because I think it's strengths versus strengths. This matchup is both offenses. Their strengths are going up against the strengths of the opposing defense. For example, we all know the Ravens run the football a ton. They actually run the ball more than any other team in the NFL. 51.08% of their plays are run plays. That's the highest rate in the NFL. But the strength of the Seahawks defense is stopping the run. Third in opponent yards per carry, fourth in opponent rush success rate. So if the Seahawks can slow down the Ravens rush attack, which it looks like they can, then it's going to be a little bit of a low scoring game on that end. And then when you look at the flip side of things, the Ravens have one of the best secondaries in the NFL. They lead the NFL in opponent yards per pass attempt. Teams are only getting 4.6 yards per throw against them. And if you can slow down the Seahawks pass attack, then it's going to slow down their offense as a whole as well. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a defensive slugfest here just because it's strength versus strength. So I'll go under 44 for Seahawks Ravens.
I like that. And I'm so interested to see this matchup too, particularly the Seahawks. Obviously, they're in the same division as the 49ers. And, a lot of people were high on them coming into this season, and they had a really great draft in terms of depth, right? Didn't really get a whole lot of splashy players, although Jackson Smith and Jigba has been a good one. But it's almost like a resurgence of the Legion of Boom. Like you said, their defense has been really, really strong. And the Ravens, I got caught up in the Ravens and Lions game. I was like, the Lions are going to win this game. Yes, the Ravens secondary and their red zone defense has been so good, but what quarterbacks have they seen? And then they completely shut down Jared Goff. So it'll be interesting to see what Geno can come up with. But I tend to agree with you here and think it's going to be more of a slugfest. I do like that under. I'm looking at Colts and Panthers. I talked about it a little bit earlier. I'm taking the over 44. And look, the Colts can cover for you because Indy has actually gone way over their totals in the last 3 games with Minshew. The offense obviously just works a lot faster with him. I like this revenge game spot for Frank Reich. I do think Carolina's offense is going to be kind of playing up to this game. And I do think they've moved a little bit better with their new offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown, getting the game ball last week. It was like an emotional thing. So I'll lean over, or I'll take over rather on this one on the 44. Next one, Browns and Cardinals. I'm going to take the under 37, and for kind of the same reasons that you talked about and why you're taking the +8 here. The most points that the Cardinals have scored on the road this season is 16. You got Clayton Tune, right, making the start this week. I think it's his very first NFL start, and it's on the road against one of the best defenses in the league. And then we talked about it. Deshaun Watson hasn't looked very good with that rotator cuff, even though he's been practicing. I would almost think PJ Walker would be a better option than him at this point, but they're 2 subpar offenses with, some pretty good defenses. And I think the weather is supposed to be windy. So I'll lean under, take this under. I keep saying lean, 37.5.
I like all the plays you've given out so far here, Katie. I really like the over in the Colts game for a big reason why I like the Colts to cover. I think they can run the ball. And you mentioned Gardner Minshew. He's either going to, throw touchdowns or throw an interception and give the other team the ball.
He's
in their
going to
own
do
end.
both.
So it's going to result in points one way or the other. So yeah, I like both those plays.
What's another total you're looking at?
Yeah, going back to the Bills and Bengals game on Sunday Night Football, I like the over, which is great because this is going to be a fun game. So I just want to sit back and kind of root for points in this one. But yeah, the Bengals offense is back. We saw last week against the 49ers. Joe Burrow finally had by far the best game he's had all season. He looked like the Joe Burrow that we saw the past couple of seasons. But I don't think their defense is back. In fact, I think their defense is way worse than a lot of people are talking about. Now, they did get a couple key turnovers last week against the 49ers, which kind of won them the game. But the 49ers still got 8.2 yards per play against this Bengals defense. And actually, if you look for season-long numbers, the Bengals are 31st in opponent yards per play. Only the Broncos are giving up more yards per snap than this Bengals defense. Yeah, surprising because they have a winning record and their offense, has looked good, especially in their last game. But their defense, I mean, think about it. They lost some key players in the offseason. Jesse Bates, one of their safeties, went to Atlanta. Von Bell, another one of their safeties, went to Carolina. And I don't think they did enough to kind of fill those holes defensively. But when it comes to the Bills, very similar story, actually. Maybe not as exaggerated, but their offense has been much better than their defense. You just look at yards per play, 3rd in yards per play, but 25th in opponent yards per play. So I think for both teams on Sunday Night Football, offenses are significantly better than their defenses. Total still in the 40s, high 40s, 49.5, but still in the 40s. Let's sit back and root for points. It's going to be a fun one.
I tend to agree with you on this one. 49 does feel a little bit too low. And it's so interesting that you say that about the Bills defense. One, they're kind of banged up on the defense right now, but
Yes.
normally that is their strength. The Bills is this really mean team, especially up front. And due to injuries, it just really hasn't been there. So yeah, let's root for points on that one. I love that over 49.5. Let's get things propping. What is a prop bet that you were looking at for week 9?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Alvin Kamara, but I'm gonna go under his rushing yards
What?
specifically. Yeah,
Okay.
this kind of surprised me when I was digging into this game against the Bears, and the Bears actually have one of the best run defenses in the NFL, which kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't know they were doing such a good job at stopping the run, but first in opponent yards per carry, they're only giving up 3.3 yards per rush, only 2.3 yards per rush over their last 3 games. Also third in both opponent rush success rate and opponent
Wow.
EPA per rush. So almost every metric you look at, if it's either a basic stat or an advanced metric, Bears run defense has been one of the best in the NFL, oddly enough.
Yeah.
So I think if the Saints kind of want to move the ball with any consistency in this game, I think they need to go to the air. Maybe Alvin Kamara gets a lot of dump off passes like he's been getting this year, but in terms of just him rushing, and it's also kind of having not a great year running the football, only 3.7 yards per rush. So I think they're going to get him a little bit more involved in the passing game. So I'll go under his rushing yard, 61.5.
Yeah, get him some like screen passes. And I mean, his receptions. Wasn't there one game where he had like 13 receptions and like only, I don't
It
know.
was like 13 receptions for like 38
It
yards or
was
something
just,
like
yeah,
that.
it was just disgusting. But I was like, all right, maybe we just take him over on his receptions. But I see what you're saying there. And it is interesting to say that the Bears have a good rush defense because we think about how awful their defense has been over the last couple years. So I know that I'm on the Chiefs to win the game, but I am going to take Tyreek Hill for an anytime touchdown. It's at plus 190, which for Tyreek Hill to get a touchdown, I mean, who else on that? Obviously, I know a lot of people can score on that team. You got Waddle, Achan obviously is injured. You still got Mostert, whatever. But Tyreek Hill ranks first in touchdowns with 8. He is second in receptions with 61. He has scored at least one touchdown in the last 4 games in 7 of the last 8 games for the entire season. And he's facing his former team for the first time since being traded 2 seasons ago. Like, this guy is coming to play. And then we talk about how the Kansas City pass defense has been elite and very good, and they certainly have been. But they did allow Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy both touchdown passes from Russell Wilson this past week. So I like Tyreek Hill to find some pay dirt.
I like it.
Yeah, hard to say anything else. All right. Oh, you've got an anytime touchdown bet as well.
I do. Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. I already talked about this game a little bit. I already said that I'm on the Colts. I've already talked about how bad the Panthers' rush defense is. But just to throw in another stat, they're giving up the most rushing touchdowns per game in the NFL, giving up 2 rushing touchdowns per game. So I think the Colts running backs are going to have a big game. And specifically Jonathan Taylor, we've seen his workload increase ever since he's come back from injury. His first game back, he only played 15% of snaps, but then he's gone 42%. 50%. And then last week against the Saints, Jonathan Taylor played 61% of the offensive snaps. So his workload's increasing. The Panthers can't stop the run. They're allowing a ton of touchdowns by opposing running backs. So pretty straightforward. It's that even money. I think it's a great bet. Obviously, it's not a long shot or a dark horse kind of bet, but even money, I think there's plenty of value there. So Jonathan Taylor to find the end zone for the Colts.
I love this one because he's on my fantasy team, and it was interesting. When he came back in the first week and Zach Moss had the 2 touchdowns, everyone's like, "Oh, Jonathan Taylor's washed. Is it going to be?" And it's like, no, dude, give it time. This guy, and like you said, the share has been going up, and so yeah, I hope that he has multiple touchdowns this next week because my fantasy team certainly needs him. I'm going to go with a kicker prop here. And I'm going back to the Dolphins and Chiefs game. I'm going to take Jason Sanders under 1.5 made field goals. It's pretty juicy on Caesars. It's minus 160. You can shop around a little bit and find some better prices. But the reason why is you look at someone like Mike McDaniels, and he's extremely aggressive. I mean, this is a team who has 35 touchdowns. They've only attempted 9 field goals all season. They have a league worst of 0.9 field goals made per game. And Sanders hasn't made multiple field goals since week 1. He hasn't even attempted multiple field goals since week 2. And yes, like I do think that this could probably be a lower scoring game, but I still think that it's going to be won by touchdown and not necessarily on field goals. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs only scored 9 last week. I expect them to bounce back a little bit here. So I'm going to take him under the 1.5 made field goals.
I love it. I love kicker props. They're some of the least bet on props out there that I see. So I love it when I see one. There's some value on kicker props that I don't think enough people take advantage of. So yeah, I like that one quite a bit. Let's go.
Is there any game that you are staying away from this week? I mean, there's so many.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I do have to, as I mentioned earlier, I bet on all 272 NFL regular season games. So I did bet on all of them. If there was one that if I could like veto one and not bet on one this week, it would probably be the one including my Atlanta Falcons, because the quarterback situation in that game is just so questionable. We don't really know what either quarterback's going to bring. Obviously, Taylor Heineke has been named the starter for my Falcons. We'll see how that goes. I did like what I saw last week in the second half against the Titans. Jaron Hall going for the Vikings. Who knows how that's going to turn out? 5th round pick out of BYU. I don't really know what to expect from him. I did bet the Falcons because I do the stupid thing of betting on all 272 regular season games. But if I could choose one that I would stay away, it'd probably be Falcons and Vikings, just because I don't know what we're going to get from either quarterback.
Same. I agree with you. And I also don't want anything to do with the Giants and the Raiders game, because we don't know what we're getting there too. The Raiders are an entirely different team. Sometimes that works out in your favor. Like we did see the Colts win with Jeff Saturday the very first week. And then this Giants team has just been, I mean, this is one I don't even want to watch, let alone bet on. So at least I'll be interested to see the Falcons and Vikings game. I don't care to watch this Raiders and Giants game. Neither of those teams have been watchable for me this season, even though I love where is he, Jimmy? It's like opposite of where he actually is, my Jimmy Garoppolo. All right, Ian. So you got obviously fan-sided, bet-sided. You've got bacon bets. What else you got going on? Where can people find you?
Yeah, the best spot is Twitter, or X, I guess it's called now, at Iain MacBets, IAINMAC Bets. And check out the Bacon Bets podcast, comes out weekly, and that's where I give out all of my picks for all 272 NFL regular season games. So check that out wherever you get your podcast.
I can't believe you do that. But before we let you go, let's look into Thursday Night Football tonight. Anything that you like in this Titans and what is it? Steelers? Titans? Steelers?
Yes. Yeah, I am going to back the Titans in this one. It's tough, though, because the Steelers, and this has been like, I don't know if it's Mike Tomlin. I don't know if it's just the franchise, but year after year, the Steelers, I'm a big stats guy, if you haven't been able to tell. And year after year, I look at the Steelers numbers, and they're like, they rank in like the bottom 5 in just about every single stat you look at, and then they come out and they win games. And I have lost probably more money betting against the Steelers than I have betting on or against any other team.
Really?
Yeah, because I just keep betting against them because their numbers aren't good. You look at like
they're
net yards per play.
No, you're right. They've gotten lucky. Yes.
So I have to kind of trust the numbers, and I'm going to do the same thing for Thursday Night Football. The Titans, by just about every single metric I look at, are the better team. Will Levis looked fantastic. I saw him, torch my Falcons last week. I don't really want to bet on Will Levis again. Let's not forget, Will Levis was projected by a lot of people to be like a top 10 pick in the draft this past year, if not top 15. He's obviously slid to the second round, but this guy's a very talented rookie quarterback. So I like what I saw from him last week against the Falcons. I didn't like watching it happen, but at the end of the day, I'll back him and the Titans to at least cover the 2.5 point spread. Maybe it'll just be a close one tonight.
You got to think putting the mayonnaise in the coffee is what led to him slide to the second round, because like what the actual it's just so gross.
It's a wild move. Yeah.
It's a wild move. And so I will say, I will bet on Levis for an interception because it was like everything went right for him in this last game. He found DeAndre Hopkins 3 times, 4 passing touchdowns, broke all of these records, looks amazing. And now he's got to go up against TJ Watt. And to your point, this Steelers team is not a very good team, but you know how they win games is by forcing turnovers. They've been very good at that. So I think this is going to be like a welcome to the NFL, Levis. Here is TJ Watt in your face. And this pass rush, I think they're going to get to him. I think he throws an interception.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, this is the first primetime game. The lights are going to be bright tonight. So yeah, I could certainly see him. And as you mentioned, nobody's better at taking the ball away than the Steelers. So I like that bet.
All right. And hopefully, the Titans win this game. I like Titans over their team total too. I think it's like at 16 and a half. And look, why not take D-Hop for an anytime touchdown? Because it seems to be the only person that he's throwing to anyway. So if they are going to win this game, D-Hop probably I think it's at like minus 105 too. It's not bad. But all right, Ian, thank you so much for joining us. You can follow him at social at Iain MacBets. He spells his name IAIN, just so you know. Before I knew you, I thought your name was Lane.
I get that so much. I get called Lane all the time. I've considered just changing my name to Lane just to make things easier. But for now, it's still Iain, IAIN.
I love it. Well, this has been Moxie Bets presented by Caesar Sportsbook. Don't forget to follow us on social at Moxie Bets. We'll see you next time. Good luck with your bets. And thank you again to Iain.